Well, hello and welcome to the Smells Like Money podcast. Join me, Suzan Taylor, the DooDoo Diva, as I interview guests who are making an impact on how we manage and operate systems for conveying and treating wastewater. As a veteran of the wastewater, trenchless, and civil infrastructure industry, each week I'll be bringing you industry know-how from industry pros who know how. Join me each week as I speak with representatives of organizations that are utilizing disruptive or new technologies and methods, and executives who are excited to share how to be successful and sustainable in our vital industry. So whether you want to learn about the latest trends in technology, in treatment or trenchless, gain tips on training and retaining great talent, or simply how to be more efficient, productive, or profitable, this podcast is for you. Ready? Let's dive right in. Well, hello and welcome everybody to this week's episode of the DooDoo Divas Smells Like Money podcast. Today, we are visiting with Joseph Blackman, the founder of Vitendo Training. And I'm going to let Joe really give his history in the industry, but we met through LinkedIn, greatest platform for doing this kind of thing. And he told me about what he's working on that I truly believe is something that is going to be so beneficial to many, many people in our industry, whether you're on the municipal side or you're a contractor. And this is in the world of training. And as we're all facing, workplace or workforce shortages, and many of our very seasoned and knowledgeable experts in the field are retiring out, Joe saw an opening and a need that with his skill set and his background, he can fill. And so I don't want to give it away. So with that said, Joe, tell the audience a little bit about your history in the industry and then how this whole, what I consider really, really cool concept and idea came to be.
Sure. So I'll catch you up real quick on it. So my background is actually videography. I graduated college with a finance degree, minor in economics, but video was my passion. So after shooting hundreds of videos for the church, hundreds of music videos and stuff like that, I got into the public works industry. And it was on the sales side. It was selling street sweepers and combination trucks, sewer trucks. And a quick story. So having sold, multiple trucks, I sold a truck to California Water. They're a utility, municipality down in Central California. And having delivered that $350,000 piece of equipment, I come out with, donuts and do a spread for everybody. And I show everybody how to work the truck and how to operate, and everybody's excited about it. But 2 weeks later, they forgot everything that I showed them on the truck, or pretty much everything. And I'm sure people who are listening to this, you get this cool walk around, you learn everything about it. You forget about it. And then also they have this thick binder of the operations manual, and who's really going to read that in today's age? So after fielding a couple questions on the piece of equipment and trying to answer it over the phone, I said, you know what? Here's what I'm going to do. Since everybody has one of these, this is a cell phone, I said, I'm going to go out to my dealership's yard and I'm going to shoot selfie videos on all the questions you're asking me. I'm going to document it on video and text you the actual, the answers to your question. And that's what I did. And they loved it. And I said, wouldn't it be cool if every other city had a library of videos to show their new employees, or the employee that was supposed to be trained, but they were out in Cabo for that week and they didn't get trained on it? You could just text them a link to a video and they could catch up on exactly what they were supposed to be trained on. And so the premise of Vitendo is, if you've ever been on YouTube and watched a video on how to operate or fix something that you own, that is what I come out and create for your city or for your utility company. And it's again, I always say, I'm not putting rockets in the air. It's something that's really simple to do, but it's kind of hard to execute on, if that makes sense. So that's where Vitendo spurred from. Like you said, you talked about the workforce development side. I see Ganesha in your background.
Yeah.
And Ganesha is the god of wisdom. So it's one of those things that I want Vitendo to be that bank, that library of wisdom for each and every company out there, because we're not necessarily up against a skill gap. We're up against a knowledge gap. And how many people do you know that are actually able, ready, and willing to work, but they just don't have that experience. And if you think about, like, if you send somebody to Safeway or Whole Foods, they look at an app, they figure out that you want apples, that you want oranges, that you want chicken, and that you want, some type of pasta. They put it all in a bag and they deliver it to you. Why can't we find people who can follow a how-to video on how to operate these complex pieces of equipment and get them back to work? I think it'll eliminate, or it won't eliminate 100%, but it'll help eliminate that you have to come in with so much experience, because if you can follow a video and you have some type of aptitude, you can get back to work.
Well, that leads me to the question of, and we talked about this offline before I had brought you on, there are videos on YouTube where you can, find stuff out. So
100%.
What is the advantage of having video? And this is what you do, is you come out and actually film it on that exact piece of equipment, their equipment. So what is the advantage of that type of video versus what, they're going to say, well, I can find most of that stuff on YouTube. So what's your, why would I want to have you do this?
Sure. Great question. I get that, I guess, pushback a lot. And I always say this, if you like these big manufacturers, there's probably some OEM videos, right? The manufacturer probably cranked out 15, 20 videos. But if you look at them, they're super heavily produced, meaning like there's words at the beginning, there's music, and there's like, hey, my name is, like, nobody really cares about all that. All we care is about answering the question that we're asking, finding the problem that we need to get solved. So the videos that we shoot are on your pieces of equipment with your employees out in your application, in your water, in your dirt, like wherever you are working at, because a guy in Texas doesn't want to hear a guy from Boston talk about his piece of equipment in the snow. The guy in Texas has a completely different application than a guy in Boston. And a guy, Southern California will have a completely different application than somebody in like Northern Canada. So and then also I always say the company culture aspect. Not every company operates the same way, because if the OEM puts out a video, they might have certain PPE that's not required in a certain part of the country, or they might have a different way of operating. You never know. I always say you never know what's behind that door of like walking into a company and knowing exactly how they operate. And that's why every company has their own culture, and that culture should be put across on a video to whatever new employee they're hiring. Or if you want to train somebody in another part of your company, that culture should be brought across through video.
So what I hear, there's the cross training, application for this. But also there was something you would mention to me that, when you buy a truck, you might buy it off the lot, but typically you're buying it, specifics, things, features, just like when we go to a dealership to buy a car, it's like some person may want the leather seat warmers if they live in Canada, whereas someone in Florida is like, oh no, I would rather have the seat chiller, not the seat warmer.
Sure.
And so, that's just kind of a funny example, but that every single truck coming off the lot might be configured just a little bit different. And so the generic, like you were saying, the generic video, it's going to take you just so far, but it might miss some of the nuances that are just purely inherent to your particular model build.
100%. I mean,
could be the XYZ 2000, but the XYZ for 2000 for Boston may be completely different than the XYZ 2000 for Atlanta.
Yeah, like, I mean, these trucks, they come up, I mean, there could be a water pump placed on the back of the truck that you own that every other one in the country is placed on the side of the truck. And it's meaning the plumbing is different, the gravity fed water is different. Like, you don't need to be watching videos where pumps are on the side of the truck, because you need to know how to plumb the one in the back of the truck. Right. So you're completely right. And then also, everybody who owns a piece of equipment knows that after a couple months, even a couple of years in your fleet, they get their own personalities, right? So each piece of equipment, I mean, some of us put stuff back together with zip ties. Some people use duct tape. Some people actually, fabricate, a piece to put it back together. And you would want to be able to show that to whoever you have next that's going to be working on it. I mean, I think it's huge in fleets that if I'm a senior technician and I'm going to retire in the next 5 years. And I always talk about the silver tsunami. People that are 50, years, they're gonna retire soon, and they're gonna leave with so much institutionalized knowledge. They're just gonna walk out of the door, and it's gonna be gone. And if you hire a millennial or a Gen Zer, we won't know what he learned over his 25 years with your company or with your city. So why not get all that institutionalized knowledge on how to do the most efficient oil change or the hydraulic oil change for a XYZ piece of equipment, make a video on it. Now a youngster can watch it and know exactly like where the tools are at in that particular shop, and then know how to like position the truck and everything for that, instead of just generically knowing how to do an oil change. But that application where you're at might be different. So yeah, every truck gets their own personality. Every garage, every yard has their own personality. The best way to do it is to capture exactly where it is in that application.
So somebody really could DIY this. So what is
Totally.
they could, but so what is the advantage of having someone like yourself come in and, kind of take care of it for you?
So I get that question a lot. They say, well, why can't I just go out in the back and shoot a selfie video and put it in a C drive on my computer and then show it to the new employees and have them use that as their onboarding? And I say, you can. I mean, to be honest, you can. It's kind of like when my wife and I, when we don't want to cook dinner, we go out to Chipotle or we go out to eat. So it's one of those things. It's convenience. You can do it yourself. I guarantee. It's one of those guarantees that I always like to put out there, that if you were to hire somebody internally to shoot video, edit video, develop a cool piece of software that in 3 clicks, you can find exactly what a video asset you need, and also be able to put in PDFs, be able to put in one thing we like to do is put in forms. So you like at the end of every day, most guys have to put in like a log on their truck, like how many miles they did, how many feet of sewer they flushed, how much water they used, whatever. They probably have to log something. So why not make that digital where it just shows up on a shared Excel doc the next day on your desktop? And having to hire that in-house and do that probably cost you a lot more than actually, than hiring Vitendo to come out and do it for you. And then also, we speak the language. We've been out in the middle of the street, fleshing lines. We get it. And then, it's one of those things. It'll probably get done a little bit better, a little bit faster if you hire it out. I mean, that's why some people use contractors. I mean, I just had I just put some new tires on my car. I could have did it myself at home, but I don't have the exact equipment. I would have to buy it. And plus, it'll probably take me 3 times as long to do it than the guys down the street at Firestone. So I get that a lot, but it's one of those things, hiring a contractor versus doing it itself. It's sometimes it's a no-brainer. Sometimes.
Yes. And so when you produce these videos, how do they come back to the client where they can actually, you were saying about within a couple clicks, be able to find what you want to find on that video?
Sure. Good question.
And what's the typical duration of a video? Like, do you break it down into little tiny segments so it's easy to find what you need?
Yeah. So just imagine this. Like, let's say you drove a 2020 Honda Accord, right? I'm sure the salesman showed you a lot of, depending on if he's a good salesman or not, he might have showed you like how to activate the heated seats, like how to, turn the alarm off if it goes off randomly, how to, put the child lock doors on. And all those different things you would probably have to retain in your brain, or you would have to find them on YouTube. And imagine going on YouTube and trying to find all those yourself. Probably not in the same place. You probably have to search for so many different things, and you have to piece it together. It's taking you so much longer. And that's why with Vitendo, we've developed this cool piece of software to where you can say, for your Honda, you can click the Honda and you can say, okay, interior. And you can click the interior, and then now you'll see, okay, here's how you lean the seats back. Here's how, if you wanted to take out the seats, here's how, if you wanted to, turn the climate control up or down, like you'll be able to find all the interior videos for that. And then also what we developed, I'm sure most of you are familiar with the QR code. So a QR code is a little sticker you probably seen during COVID. They had them on every single table. You would scan the QR code with your phone, and what will pop up would be the restaurant's menu, right? So then you can find what you want on the menu, then you'll place your order. So what we did was we take QR code stickers and we put them on the inside of the piece of equipment, whether it's on the sun visor or on the door jamb or anywhere on the piece of equipment. And so now when a guy gets stuck, like let's say he's on call, it's Sunday, he has to go out and emergency do something with the piece of equipment. He can scan that QR code with his phone, and now all the video assets, the PDFs, the JPEG, the pictures, the wiring diagrams, everything will pop up for that piece of equipment from that QR code. So he doesn't have to sift through all the other pieces of equipment that they own and then, all the other stuff. So that makes it really, really accessible for a guy to get in the truck, get unstuck, and get back to work.
So it's more than just, you're going out and doing more than just videos. You're compiling, all of the other assets that they might have for training from the equipment manufacturer and whatnot. And that's a great, wow, what a time saver. Compiling it all in one spot and making it readily accessible. And so for those who are listening, what types of equipment do you primarily provide these kind of videos on? Or can this really, I love this. This concept is fantastic. How difficult would it be to extend it to things such as, I don't know, a motor or a pump in a wastewater treatment plant, or a CCTV camera, or, because it was near and dear to my heart where I came from in the industry. Let's say it's the hydraulic reel, the cable reel on the back of a CCTV truck, like how to service the hydraulics. So what I'm hearing is it's not just for vac trucks or hydro excavators or sewer sweepers, kind of give me an idea of where this could be done or how this could be applied.
So, for the city of Antioch, they have this thing called C-Click Fix. And what it is a constituent of the city, a community member will see a tree that's fallen down, right? And instead of having to call a number to say, hey, there's a tree fell down on this in this street, they can open up that app and they can say, hey, there's a tree that fell down on 4th Street and 5th Street. Come pick it up or whatever. And then when they submit that I guess ticket, it'll go to whoever needs to see it within the city, and they'll go out to go get the tree, chop it up, take it out of there. But what was happening is that people would see a tree right out on 4th Street. They would go home and then they would make the ticket. So the truck is driving out to that person's home saying, where's the tree at? And then you have to figure out that, it was on 4th Street. So not everybody was doing it right. So they wanted us to come out and say, hey, we want to create a how-to video, a screen grab of actually using the application and show people that wherever you're at, you can decide where you want that ticket to be located at, if that makes sense. So now they watch the video, they'll say, okay, the tree fell down on 4th Street. I'm at home now, but it's on 4th Street. And they can put the little geo tag on there. And that's just an example of this. Software, how many different pieces of software do municipalities, utility companies have that's really complex? So why not say, hey, you're going to do these 3 tasks every day on the software. We will come out and screen record those. And now when you're training somebody, say, hey, watch these videos because this is going to be the 90% of what you're going to do every day and how to operate it. To be honest, I think this should work for, pretty much every company with a complex type of workflow. For the city of Watsonville, they have pump stations, 3 different types of pump stations around their city. I guess they're called indoor, outdoor, and then like open air, something like that. And there's different ways to do a pump station check or lift station check at each one. And so we walk through how to do a lift station check in each different type of lift station. And then we take a QR code, put it on the thing. And now if they hire somebody new and they forget a part of the process and how to check that lift station, they can scan it and watch the videos on it. We rebuilt the whole pump. It just happened to be that day there was a pump that seized up because it had a whole bunch of wipes in it. Don't flush flushable wipes, but it had a whole bunch of wipes in it. And so they literally took 40 minutes to pull the pump apart and clean it and then put it back together. And we got all that on video. And now imagine this: a new guy goes out, he doesn't know how to rebuild a pump, but if he can watch a video, like watch a step, he can hit pause, and then he'll come back and watch some more, hit pause, do the work, come back, hit pause. I don't know how to rebuild a pump, but I can watch that video and rebuild a pump and fix a pump in that same regard. So this can span all the way from just pieces of equipment to software technology, all the way to just, pumps, whatever you have around the city.
Right. And I just see that this is a way to quickly get people up to speed. And I do like the idea of, because the workforce is starting to shrink, that more and more entities are going to need to cross train, so that if someone, it's not their main job, but hey, if someone is out sick and you've got to fill in, and let's just say there's something happening and it can't wait until Joe is back tomorrow, it's got to be dealt with today, that John can say, okay, wait, I got a how-to on that. We can do this.
Sure.
It's almost Bob the Builder. Yes, he can.
I mean, how many of us have worked with guys who are of age and they hold all the keys because they know everything? And it's
just second nature to them.
Yeah. And like second nature. They don't even have to think about it. They could just do it.
Right.
But if you hire somebody new who's got plenty of energy and they want to actually learn, what better way than to give them a library of 100, 500, 1,000 videos to skim through it and say, hey, expose yourself to these things. You might do this one task once a year and every other year. So I guarantee you're not going to remember how to do this. But if you know where to find the video, you won't have to call your supervisor, take him out of his office, take him off the task, and help you out with yours. Or there's things that you might want to show the new guy that he's going to do every other day that he just needs to be ready for when he's like actually gets out in the field and he can expose himself to it. I get pushback. A lot of guys say, well, what we do, you can't train this on video. And I always say, I get it. But again, I'm sure we've all went to YouTube how to fix something or operate it. It didn't train us how to do it, but it exposed us to what it's going to look like, or maybe even feel like when we're out there doing it. And that exposure circumvents, that initial, when you're standing out in the field next to a guy and he's trying to explain something to you, you can already think like, okay, I saw this happen before. I kind of know where he's going next. And it speeds the process up.
Yeah, I would imagine that it would. Or, even someone that's got a lot of experience, let's just say, he's always, he switches jobs. He's an experienced person or mechanic, but I'm just going to say, because we know the brands, he's always worked on back-ons, because that's what he knows. Yeah. Now, all of a sudden, he's at a company that's running Vactors. They're kind of the same thing, but things may be in different spots. And so he's going to have that learning curve to learn how that particular piece of equipment works. Similarities, but it's kind of like a fingerprint, like no two are alike. And you're absolutely right. I think that repository of getting that knowledge, that now, when you were saying second nature, those guys that we know are going to be retiring in 3 to 4 years, or even a year from now.
Yep.
Let's get a crew out there and start picking their brain and asking them questions to do like a day in the life with this guy, because once he's gone, it's lost for forever. And chances are he hasn't written it down. Like you were saying, because he's done it so many times. It's just like, I remember as a little girl learning how to make certain dishes with my mom. And my mom never wrote it down. She just knew from eye, okay, like a pinch of this and a pinch of that. She just knew from feel and from eye, because she had done it hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. And yet if we try to replicate, like, okay, what was it? Was it 2 pinches of this or 1 pinch? And it's almost like creating a cookbook for equipment operation and maintenance.
Sure. And I always go into the psychology aspect behind it. Most people who are going to retire, they want to give back. They want to immortalize themselves, and be the person that can help out move society or the world forward. So why not use that and say, okay, if you're 62 years old, you're retiring at 63, Jimmy, we need you to show us everything you do for our city or everything you do for our company. They would love to help out. And then you'd be surprised. Like I always say, I will go to Home Depot and steal YouTube stuff on how to fix it, making sure that I get the right part before I go and ask somebody. Like I'll literally stand in the aisle and look at my phone and go, okay, am I doing this right? Is this the right part? Is before I ask, mostly it's kids in Home Depot now, but just my ego will say, I don't want to ask for directions. I will figure out on my own. And if you can allow a guy to go home, if you can allow a guy to go home and figure it out on his own, he'll come back to work like, oh, I know how to do this. I've seen it on video. I can figure it out from there. Instead of having to say, hey, can you help me do this and that? Which we all should ask for help. But man, like we just want to get it done. So
and
totally.
and most of you don't like to stop and ask for directions. I don't know what that is. I don't think the world will ever be able to figure that out. I'm sure there's been lots of psychologists that done lots of tests. Why is it impossible for a man to stop and ask for directions? Who knows? But
yeah.
Well, Joseph, I love the concept of this. I hope that people who have been listening or watching this have gotten something out of it and may think about, wow, even if I don't do everything, if I at least capture the most critical things that need to be known by everybody, that will, you think about it, it is an investment. It's an investment in your team. It's an investment in your own sustainability. It's an investment in your own efficiency. And, like I said earlier, as the workforce shrinks, people are going to be tasked with doing more with less. And I just see that something like this could really make not just impact on the learning curve, but imagine the amount of frustration time that it could eradicate of someone struggling to figure it out. It's just like when I build websites for people and they want to do their own editing, and I train them on how to do it. And we recorded on the WordPress administrator. And I said, now, if you start getting into something and you get stuck, give it 10 minutes max. And if you still can't figure it out, send me an email and call me. Otherwise, you're going to spend in that hour. You might as well put a sticker on your desk that says Banghead here. I don't want you to be doing that. Call me. It's usually something where you've watched the video and maybe you've just missed one little critical step, or you did it out of order. And it'll be something, oh, well, did you do that? Say, and they'll be like, oh gosh, I forgot that step. And I mean, and that's all it takes. And just taking that frustration of, hey, I could waste 2 hours trying to fix this and not get anywhere, or watch a video, watch it again just to make sure I got it, and have the thing resolved in 15 minutes. And you're right. You're absolutely right about that sense of pride and accomplishment that, wow, I learned something new. I didn't need to ask for help. And I fixed this. How good does that feel at the end of the day?
It feels the best. And I tell privatized companies, I say, people, we always talk about succession planning, right? And usually people think succession planning is people, but it's switching now to processes, because if you can set in a process that's so robust and so strong, who really cares who you have in the driver's seat if the car drives itself, so to say? Not to take a stab at automated driving, but when a company can operate itself, the valuation skyrockets. Who wants to buy a pizza shop where you only know how to make the pizza, the dough, the cheese, and the pepperoni and all that? It's better to have a pizza all the how-tos on how to make those pizzas. That company is so much more valuable than an investor coming in saying, hey, how do you do these operations? And you go, well, Jimmy knows how to do everything and he's retired in 6 months. Like that kills your valuation. But if everything's in place to where all the processes are documented and on video and in order, anybody can run it.
That is a great point, especially for, private entities. Contractors who are thinking, I'm looking to sell my business. You're right, having that library for the next owner as he inherits that equipment, that's golden. So that's 100%. There you go. Sewer service contractors, plumbers, trenchless people who might be listening. If you're thinking about retiring, wow, good thing to absolutely consider for valuation. So for those of you who are interested in learning more, You can visit Joseph's website, which is vitendo.us. That's vitendo.us. And he is also on LinkedIn, Joseph Blackman. And I invite you, reach out, discuss the ideas, your options. I think that, when we invest in people and in training, we make them more valuable and we make our organizations more valuable and more efficient. And so with that, I want to thank you for joining us today. And for those of you listening, thank you for being here with us. And until next time, keep it flowing. Thanks so much for joining me, the DooDoo Diva, on this week's episode of Smells Like Money. What stood out to you this week? Share your takeaways by leaving me a review. You can find out more about the new technologies, creating sustainable solutions, and insights on how to succeed in our vital industry by subscribing to the show. Whether you want to learn about the latest trends in wastewater infrastructure, treatment, or trenchless, you've got it all right here at Smells Like Money. If you're an industry expert and would like to be considered as a guest for the show, book a quick chat with me by visiting calendly.com/the2it group/B-A-podcast-guest, or simply click the link in the show notes below. Until next week, a big shout out to all my industry friends and those who will be. You are my superheroes. Thanks for tuning in, keeping it flowing, and we'll see you all next week.